Hello there and welcome back to Gemma Movie Recap. Today I'm going to recap Don't Breathe 2, a 2021 action thriller film. Don't Breathe 2 is directed by Rodo Sayegh and written by Sayegh and Fede Alvarez, who directed the first film. The movie is a sequel to the 2016 film Don't Breathe. The story picks up several years after the events of the first movie and follows Norman Nordstrom, played by Stephen Lang, a blind man who lives alone in a secluded house. Norman's quiet life is disrupted when a group of kidnappers targets him in an attempt to take away a young girl he has been raising as his own daughter. Warning, spoilers ahead. Please be cautious. But before we start, please support our channel by subscribing and click the bell icon for future notifications. Now, let's start. The film opens with a house fire, while a little girl with a white streak in her hair walks away from it before collapsing on the street. Jump to 8 years later where the girl, now named Phoenix, is running away from a dog. She climbs up a fence and finds a car with a gun inside, before Norman Nordstrom / the blind man comes up from behind her and takes the gun. This was a training exercise he had her prepare for survival, and the dog is his own named Shadow. Norman has been nurturing Phoenix as if she were his own daughter for all these years. However, he is denying her a conventional upbringing by prohibiting her from attending a public school. One day, a former Army Ranger named Hernandez, who is Norman's acquaintance, takes Phoenix out for a day. Although they visit a park, Phoenix refrains from playing with other children. During a stop at a gas station, a news report regarding a surgeon's arrest for participating in an illegal organ donor scheme is shown. Phoenix enters the restroom and encounters a man named Raylan who seems to be making unwanted advances towards her. To avoid any trouble, Phoenix asks her companion Shadow to stay close to her. Later, Hernandez takes Phoenix back home and advises Norman that she deserves a regular childhood. Hernandez also reassures Norman that he should not blame himself for any past errors he made while serving as a SEAL. On her way home, Hernandez sees a truck blocking the road. She honks but gets no response and has to step out. She finds Raylan and his goons Duke, Jared, and Raul in the car and tells them to move. They do so, but when Hernandez goes back to her car, a fifth goon, Jim Bob, attacks Hernandez and bludgeons her to death with a hammer. Phoenix is getting ready for bed. Shadow hears something and starts barking. When Norman tries to feed Shadow, he realizes he isn't coming to him. He goes outside and feels around to find Shadow dead with a bullet in his body. Norman realizes something is wrong. The 5 goons make their way into the house, but Phoenix spots them and makes her way through the room undetected. Unfortunately, she ends up coming across Jim Bob, who nearly gets her, but Norman breaks through the door behind Jim Bob and attacks him, allowing Phoenix to run. Norman is injured and goes to tend to his wound where Jared comes up on him. Norman fights him and superglues his mouth and nose shut to suffocate him. Jim Bob comes and punctures a hole through his cheek to help him breathe before Jared uses broken glass to cut the glue off. Phoenix runs to the basement, but Duke breaks through the door. She runs into a container and locks herself in, but Duke starts to fill it with water. Norman makes his way down there and tries to smoke Duke out, but he retaliates by putting a live wire above the container, waiting for the water to fill up so Phoenix will either drown or be electrocuted. Norman fights Duke, who keeps trying to reach for a knife. Norman manages to pull the wire away from the container and hide behind a table before throwing the wire to ignite the gas, creating an explosion that fries Duke. Norman tips the container over, gets the water out, and pulls Phoenix out safely. As the two try to make their way to safety, the other 4 goons try to find them. Raylan calls out to Phoenix and says that Norman is not her father and that he has been lying to her. He finds them and takes off his hat, revealing that he also has a white streak in his hair as Phoenix does, meaning he is her biological father. He explains that he was blamed for the explosion of their home and was in jail for years, waiting to find Phoenix again. Jared finds Norman and tries to attack, but he smashes Jared's whole skull with a shovel. Jim Bob finds his brother's body and is devastated. Raylan's dog goes after Norman while Raul knocks Phoenix out with a chloroform rag. Once they are out and Norman is incapacitated, the goons set the house on fire and leave Norman and the dog for dead. Raylan brings Phoenix back to his home, which is basically a drug den. He tells her that her real name is Tara and gives other details about her background. Phoenix doesn't want to stay and starts to leave until she hears a woman in a wheelchair singing a song, Blackbird, that she remembered from childhood. The woman is Phoenix's biological mother and Raylan's wife, Josephine. They bring Phoenix to a room and explain that their house was a meth lab that blew up, and the chemicals from the explosion caused serious damage to Josephine's heart, and she needs a donor, and they had Phoenix in mind. They sedate her with drugs from orange juice and she passes out. Norman wakes up and finds the dog, managing to get her to help him walk back to Raylan's house while he gathers supplies. The heart surgery nearly takes place, with Raylan using the surgeon seen on the news earlier. Raul expresses his disgust with the procedure, though he is the only one who seems to have a problem with it. Just before the surgeon can cut out Phoenix's heart, the power gets cut out. The goons go after Norman, but when Jim Bob tries to fight him in retribution for Jared's death, Norman gets little rattling balls and shoves them into Jim Bob's throat, which allows him to hear wherever he goes so that Norman can throw a hammer at Jim Bob's head. Raul goes with 3 other gunmen to find him, but they step on water that he senses while lying down, and Norman shoots them dead. Raul tells Norman about what Raylan and Josephine are trying to do, and he wants no part of it, so he tells Norman to catch them before they take Phoenix away. The villains almost get out until Norman slashes the surgeon's throat. He sets off smoke bombs while Raylan goes after him. He fires his gun like crazy and ends up shooting Josephine dead. Her wheelchair starts rolling toward a deep empty pool, and Phoenix is handcuffed to her. Phoenix grabs a machete and starts hacking off Josephine's arm, but still ends up falling down the pool with her. Norman catches Raylan and gouges his eyes out with his thumbs. Phoenix climbs out of the pool, and Norman tells her to stay away from him as he admits the evils he has committed, stating he is just a bad man. After it appears she has left, Raylan stabs Norman in the back and nearly slashes his throat, but Phoenix impales Raylan with the machete, and he falls into the pool next to Josephine. Phoenix holds Norman in her arms until he appears to die. Phoenix leaves the facility and goes to the park where she finds the kids from earlier, asking if she can join them. They allow her to join, and she tells them her name is Phoenix. Thanks for tuning in to this movie recap. I hope you found it enjoyable and insightful, and that it helped you gain a better understanding of the story. If you found this video useful, please hit the like button and share your thoughts in the comments below. And remember to subscribe to our channel so that you never miss out on our latest movie recaps and other exciting content. Your support is crucial in helping us keep creating high-quality videos like this one. Once again, thank you for watching, and we can't wait to see you at our next one.